Police and military members of Reddit, what is something you realized about society as a result of your service that you didn't notice before? The only sign of being a good person is being a good person. People like to say, "Oh, that person has X trait, he's a good person." None of those traits pan out. Religion, education, money, status, race, politics, electability, sexuality. I met plenty of straight-up a-holes in every iteration of every category there is. Nearly every iteration of every category also had strongly good people in it. There was virtually no correlation. Man, I see this so much on Reddit. Someone will comment something like, "I love my grandma and call her once a week," and someone will reply of how good of a person they are and perhaps even gild them. It really blows my mind that some people on the internet can see one small comment and immediately think this is a good person. It's true. I had a friend back in college who was a legitimate racist. He was a super polite guy and was a God-fearing Christian and had a girlfriend he loved. But when it came to a certain group of people, he legit had hatred in his heart. That taught me a valuable lesson that you can be polite and still be a fucking bad person. That kind of hatred in your heart trumps them holding the door for me any day of the week. There's a problem we like to refer to by saying that if you're the prettiest girl in the whorehouse, you should expect to get fucked. If you're good at your job, great. You'll get to do someone else's job too. When things need to get done, regardless of whose responsibility something is, the tasks will fall to the people who can do them, the high performers. So you end up with all of these high performers who get burnout because they're doing their job and picking up all of the slack that falls on their shoulders. In the military especially, it's frustrating when these high performers who carry most of the load are compensated and treated the same as their peers who don't add as much value. The military is many things, but a meritocracy it is not. Many from this top group leave the military to pursue something where their disproportionate contribution is rewarded. You then end up with the leftover group of people from the middle of the pack, who were never really high performers, finding themselves in leadership positions. Through attrition of the actual best, the middle rises, simply because they end up being the best of who's left after the high performers leave. Happens in any organization with cultural issues. It's called the Dead Sea effect. Water flows in from a limited number of sources, and exits only by evaporation, leaving behind an unpleasant, useless brine. Most people are not suited to authority. The more they have, the more they abuse it. Both genders. Most people aren't that smart, and the dumber they are, the dumber they think smart people are. Men are cruel. Women are wicked. Groupthink is real, is everywhere, and is dangerous. A lot of people told to any, "Join an army and you will be a real man, a better person." But when I joined in the Brazilian army, I noticed that the bad guys still bad guys and the good guys still good guys. Is not the society or the environment that change a person, is the individual will to be a good person that change you. And a lot of people just put their responsibility to be better into the environment, using it as a reason to not try and prove yourself. I was stationed in Germany while in the US Army, and in a year I saw all kinds of interesting tourist stuff, drove around the Nürburgring, went to the Netherlands, went to Austria, spent every other weekend fucking around in Munich, owned a couple of cars I'd never get in the States, made all kinds of friends. It was one of the best experiences of my life. Meanwhile, there were all these dudes on post who'd go on and on about how much Germany sucked. But the only things they ever wanted to do was drink beer in the barracks or go to one of the bars downtown that catered to Americans. Thank you for your service, and my response, thank you for your support, is really just an obligated, scripted back and forth that usually means nothing to either party. I know there's no ill intent meant by it, but I feel like 90% of the time, people say it when they feel like they have to, not because they feel genuine gratitude. I hope that doesn't make it sound like I think I deserve gratitude just on account of being a glorified government employee, but I can definitely tell the difference between someone who genuinely believes I somehow keep them safe, and someone who is saying because they think they have to, and I wish those people felt comfortable not saying anything at all. Before Army, everyone in military service is a hero. Fucking extinguish anyone who thinks otherwise. After Army, I've been wrong, for a very long time. Could you elaborate on this? Seems interesting. Never been in the military, and if someone with actual experience corrects me, then take their word, but I heard that it could be two things. 1. I've heard that 90% of all people in the military don't go into combat. the hero part, and what you think of when you're in the military. 2. Just because you fought doesn't mean you have a good personality. It's quite possible for someone to be in the army but then end up murdering his mom and dad or whatever. There's a lot of gray between the black and white of following orders. Being on deployment overseas made me appreciate signs and announcements in English. Being in Dubai or India and not getting lost because of the English signage is something one wouldn't think important until they're lost and need to make it back to ship on time. So now when someone complains about seeing signs in Spanish or French in America, I'm more prone to calling them out on their bullshit. Can confirm. I've been in Japan and Hong Kong for the last 3 weeks, and the few times my phone died when I was trying to get around town, I've never felt more lost in my life. Military member here to say people walk fucking slow. New Yorker here to say military members walk slow. I'm also a New Yorker, so maybe it's just that lol. I'm stationed in the South now, and walking in the mall, even the younger people walk like grandmas. That everyone has preconceived notions about the military, good or bad, and any information given to the contrary goes in one ear and out the other. Also applies to just about everything else. People don't like to give any additional thought to an idea once they have settled on it as their personal belief. The military is a huge organization and a supreme example of the American melting pot, with people from literally all walks of life and all ideologies, and making any generalizations about service members beyond "they are all human" is pointless. Not all service members are human. Some are dogs. Everybody everywhere is only a couple days away from living in the third world. There are only 9 meals between mankind and anarchy. Alfred Henry Lewis. I've been military for the last 23 years and counting, and have been involved in detainee ops for both the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. Their lower-level folks, like ours, aren't inherently evil. The vast majority have just been taught a different perspective. The military has taught me that there are large, valid differences between different cultures, and instead of bombing or degrading each other, maybe we should talk about it. Oh, and I've learned that the most staunch, right-leaning military supporter often has zero inclination to find out what we do or actually sign up. Want to support a troop? Cover me. Nah, I'll just slap a bumper sticker on, "Thank you for your service," and pretend we aren't in an unending war to serve private interests. Society. Everyone in the Air Force is a pilot. While this may be useful for picking up members of the opposite sex, in all other contexts it is mildly annoying. By the way, I fly a D-35K. Yeah, I was a cop for 6 years and mine it. Telling people that I guarded nukes blows their minds. If only they knew the hours upon hours spent up in the guard tower, doing literally nothing but glancing at my rifle every couple minutes just wondering what it tasted like. So what did the rifle taste like? Defeat. I have a relative who is in the Air Force, and she works with the team who loads the planes at night. I asked the same stupid questions in the beginning, lol. The America people think that they live in is an illusion, but it's actually real on most military bases. By this I mean almost everyone is polite and respectful to everyone they meet when walking about, regardless of whether or not they're wearing a uniform. When people imagine the small town feeling from old TV shows where everyone says hi to each other and people are willing to go out of their way to help people, they don't know that shit is real on most posts. I'm not saying things are perfect on every military base I've been on, but they're always clean, safe, and most people are genuinely polite to each other. If you care about doing the most good for the most people and are vaguely competent, don't avoid responsibility. See the bigger picture and take advantage of opportunities to make the world a better place, if only very slightly. If a good person does not take the helm, there are incompetent, selfish, sociopathic bastards lining up to take it. So if you are a clever cookie with good intentions, rise to the occasion. Even if you don't believe in the institution. Especially if you don't believe in the institution. There are so many smart people who pride themselves on seeing through the cruelty of an institution, but do nothing to make it better. They are no better than the sheep they scoff at. They are complicit in what they condemn. The world is made tangibly better by competent people who are willing to play the game to an unselfish end, and those are few and far between. We must all fear evil men. But there is another kind of evil which we must fear most, and that is the indifference of good men. That everyone around the world wants the same thing: safety, food, and shelter. Being polite will get you a long ways in any society. Do you have a similar story? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.